Oh, right, Reflection. Today we have a very interesting video today for you. Just about when did this come out? Yesterday, so about a day ago. Jeff Kaplan, the main kind of guy, the main head for Overwatch and everything. You know, the game that basically I think I started my streaming career on and absolutely loved, and then saw it fail, and we see me kind of roasted a lot more. He kind of gives more of an in-depth version, so Lex Friedman. This is about a 5 hour um, podcast discussion. I'm going to stick to the main points. So, Overwatch in 6 weeks, the best Overwatch heroes, and then why Jeff eventually left Blizzard, and a lot of other stuff. Yeah, we're going to watch this. We're going to react to it with you guys. So, here we go.
So when Titan was canceled, I mean that must have been a gigantic heartbreak for everybody. And there was this moment when the plan was for the Titan team to be disbanded and moved elsewhere. But you fought for keeping some part of the Titan team, the core of the team together. And Lars Moorheim gave you 6 weeks to come up with a new ship. And you mentioned that there.
So wait, so Titan, because I didn't, we're not watching this part, because I didn't think this would have any like joint effort with Overwatch, but the fact that knowing that originally Titan was supposed to become Overwatch.
No idea. Thinking about a StarCraft MMO, maybe an MMO in a new IP called Crossworlds, and then the third idea was Overwatch. Can you take me through those 6 weeks?
Yeah, the 6 weeks, it was supposed to be the greatest time ever if you think about it, because you're a game developer at Blizzard and you get to come up with a new idea. So that sounds awesome. Like, to everybody at Blizzard, to all game developers, it sounds great. But we were probably the most demoralized we'd ever been in our careers. At least I was. I didn't know if I was going to be fired. I didn't know if that was the end of my career at that point. And so it was like a really serious, kind of dire environment that this was happening in. And we were given two criteria that we had to hit for these pitches. The first one was that we had to ship within 2 years. And that is a very ambitious time
Yeah,
frame for any
crazy.
game,
It's crazy.
but for a Blizzard game, it's kind of insane. And then the second, okay, the second is even more ambitious and crazy, was whatever we made, whatever we pitched, had to have the potential to have World of Warcraft like revenue.
Yeah, right.
And to date, at that point, there was one game that had World of Warcraft like revenue, which was World of Warcraft. So immediately I just threw out the revenue thing because it's all fucking monopoly money to me.
Yeah.
Like, this game money it's insane, and I just don't think about it. That's someone else's problem. But uh, I did want to be as realistic as I could about the schedule part of it. So most of our team, the Titan team, was 140 some people. Most of that team got moved to go work on
Holy crap!
Heroes of the Storm, the D3 expansion, World of Warcraft, Hearthstone. So immediately, large number of the team was gone. Then we had a bunch of, like, what we called temp loans, people that someday were going to come back to us, but we loaned off for like 6 month tour of duty. And then there was a very small team. There was a group of engineers that was mothballing Titan. So it exists somewhere at Blizzard at that point. And they were also deconstructing the engine because they knew it didn't work anymore. And to make a new game, it had to be way reconsidered to sort of what it is today. And then there was a very small creative group that was supposed to come up with these three pitches and given 6 weeks. And we just sort of arbitrarily decided, like, let's spend 2 weeks on each pitch. be all in for the 2 weeks on the pitch. So if we're, pitch one was a StarCraft MMO, and we have to live and breathe and want it more than anything. And I kind of warned everybody. I said, at the end of this 2 weeks, you're going to think this is the only game idea, and you're not going to be invested in the next. But we're going to throw it out as soon as we do the next one. And the StarCraft MMO, I actually really loved that pitch. It was called StarCraft Frontiers. And the concept was like less of you're playing like Space Marine, like it was less armies. StarCraft the RTS is always about the 3 races and the giant armies. And kind of what made WoW WoW and separate from the Warcraft RTS series. Instead of being like a footman in the army in World of Warcraft, you were like a lone adventurer, make your mark on the world. So we had this idea, it was old Chris Metzen drawing of a space prospector. And I love that idea that like somewhere
Okay, well, this is interesting, like the whole stuff, but
battles were happening.
I think I'm going to jump to why he left.
Very chaotic, I could for what keep it could have it was creating a live the wave. No one plays it or plays it for 2 weeks. If you're lucky enough to have caught the wave, ride it to the end.
Okay. So, this is probably going to be a long bit, because it seems like this is a good, like, half-hour discussion, what it looks like. So, why he left, so, like, I want to start with this, because, like, I wanted to, like, kind of get an idea of, like, what was going on behind the scenes, what that led to Overwatch being created, because I didn't start playing Overwatch until, like, the end of 2017, so the game had already been out a full year. And they're already releasing some heroes. So now, like, going, 9 years after that, basically. almost 9 years, actually. So it's actually, technically, it's been 8 years. Because 2017, then 2025, and then this coming year will be 9 years. Since I first played Overwatch and first started streaming. So why did Jeff leave? Well, we'll find out. Let's see.
My instincts at that point were like, let's just keep, how many more of these live events can we do?
So yeah, so now there's this wave in the live game, event, pressure to create Overwatch.
Yeah, we had a coalition on the team that was really wanted Overwatch 2 builds instead of the live events, and then the executive pressure became monumental. And what would have been correct was to do more world tours, like keep it going. But the major derail was Overwatch League. And we really, like, the weirdest part.
Okay, that's hilarious. So, Overwatch League, Blizzard's professional esports league for Overwatch, launched in 2018 with a city-based franchise model that operated for 6 seasons before being discontinued in 2023 following the change to Overwatch 2. So it only lasted like 4 years, basically. We'll say. We're not going to give it the 5 years. But for Jeff to say that it basically derailed it, I mean, I understand, because what sucked about it was, I think they jumped the wave of esports a bit too soon. I think if they would have waited until like 21, like after this, because I mean, but then again, who would have known that COVID was going to happen? But I think the worst part about the Overwatch League was the fact that they didn't start with a more of a centered in the US kind of thing. Like, yes, there was a majority of teams that were from the U.S., but there was also teams that were not in the U.S. I think if they would have started with like if they would have started the Overwatch League and then there was like the NA ones and then there was the like EU Asia ones, I think that would have been better because I think you could have started with the NA and then branched out and then see just how it really would have went. Because then you could have had like a lot more like EU like matchmaking servers. You would have had like the Asia ones. You would have been able to have like a more thing, and then especially if you were a fan of like certain players, because a lot of the players that were in the Overwatch League, they were streamers. It wasn't like they were just regular, professional, like we're an esports org and everything. They were players who eventually joined franchises that supported the Overwatch League stuff.
Overwatch League is I believe in it. I helped pitch it along with some other people. We thought it was like the future of esports, regional-based teams, ensuring minimum player salaries and player protections. Like there was a lot of very good about Overwatch.
Teams associated with the international, the competition, the dream, the ambition.
This is what so originally Chengdu, Charge, or yeah, the Hunters, the Charge, the Spark, Eternal, Defiant, Titans, and Justice weren't the original ones, I think, from what I remember. I think it was Uprising, Fuel, Mayhem, Outlaws, Spitfire, Gladiators, Valiant, Excelsior, Fusion, Shock, Dynasty, Dragons, and that was it. I think it was maybe after the first or second year they started adding all these other teams to it. And the problem I think a lot of they had was like you were sending players off to travel to these areas to play this, and it was just like it was always a weird time for me. So like if you were like a fan of like the Shock, if you had to watch like the VOD of them play the Hunters or the Charge or the Spark or Justice or Titans or not Titans but Dynasty Dragons. I think the start of being international too soon hurt it.
Teams part of the dream was more of like regional-based player protection, try to make esports more of a first-class citizen. Because there were all these stories about like shady teams, screwing their players over. Where it got away from us was there was a lot of excitement about Overwatch League, like too much so, and then it got over-marketed to the people buying the teams. They went on this road show where they had a deck basically, and like you could put anything in a deck and sell anything. And they were selling the Brooklyn Bridge that Overwatch League was going to be more popular than the NFL.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Especially at that time. Because around that time, esports was kind of just like a regular thing. I think what Overwatch League helped me with, though, so, like, I don't completely hate it, but I do see where it started to fall and falter. Because, like, I originally, like, there's not much that I can do. Like, I wasn't feeling comp some days, but, like, I wanted to stream. So, like, I would, like, just, like, watch Overwatch League matches and just call the matches. And that's what got me into casting, and then the few months that I was with the Console Gaming League as a caster, like, that was cool and everything. But I think as the Overwatch League went on, I kind of fell away from it, also because like my IRL life kind of went in with everything, so I wasn't able to do it as much. I I think starting the Overwatch League as basically as soon as what they did, like I get kind of why. I think they needed to start it, but I think like with what he's saying is with the over marketing they did screwed them over down the line. Because what he had said was like, well, Overwatch League could be like this regional based player protected kind of a thing, but when the people pitching it are saying what you actually don't want them to say, that kind of ruins it. It's kind of like how, like in my actual profession, if I describe some food, like if I could describe a burger to you. I could say it's a third pound ground up chuck patty served with cheese of your choice on a hard roll that has been buttered and the burger's cooked to a medium with your choice of fries or chips or whatever. Well, someone else could say, "Oh, it's a cheeseburger with on a bun." Like that's two different ways of saying it. Like there's a description of it, and then there's like the quick, simple, easy stuff. I think what happened was like what the Overwatch team wanted for the Overwatch League versus what was told to people who were investing into it. Which I think like I feel like you as someone that is like trying to pitch this idea, you need to be with the people that are like marketing it and like talking about it to these investors. Like you're working on all these other things, but like you have to like also push this other stuff. And I think what's Overwatch League, I think, is what's helping the MCR, the Marvel Rivals Championship, really kind of progress, is because they're seeing what not to do, but they're also allowing for like other tournaments to happen. I think the big thing with the Overwatch League was there was so much hype around this like almost like professional based thing that there wasn't enough like hype for just like anything that was on the side. And I think when they realized that the actual Overwatch League was failing, they started doing the contenders and they started doing all these other things. It was just like it's like you're just throwing darts at a board and hoping something sticks.
And we got a bunch of billionaire investors in these teams. And when 2018 started, like for example, the day I got back, they said we signed this huge deal with Twitch for streaming of Overwatch League, like a media rights deal. And that means that here's all these commitments we made for Overwatch League of like in-game stuff that had to exist. Like a lot of it was integration with Twitch and camera control, that kind of stuff. The other part of it was a bunch of skins and uniforms for all the teams, which was not just getting the art in the game, but there was huge technical challenges to like how all that worked and was efficient and hit the right memory footprint and all that kind of stuff. And so your plans at that point kind of go out the window. Like you're not going to work on new world events. You're not really even focused on Overwatch 2. You're just kind of treading water. There was a lot of talk of like, oh God, the deal didn't go well. We've got to do make good, make the deal better for them. Like, give them some money back. Like if the deal isn't what people wanted, like.
I will say that was kind of something, especially it's what they did, and I think what they had marketed to these people really hurt like the design teams and the actual gameplay teams. Like whenever you like look at like skin in certain like visual effects, that changes with a lot of characters, and if every character has to have a skin for one team, that hurts the design flow of other stuff. I think that's why when we saw this, we saw almost a real like lax on a lot of the events that we had played beforehand, like stuff with like archives, like there was the Uprising event that was really cool. There was the one that came like I think around the time that I like shortly after I had started, where it was McCree, Reaper, Genji, and Moira. And I think the one that came out, I think the last archive event that happened, I think that was probably where we started seeing all the stuff that happened with the Overwatch League really start to hurt the Overwatch team. But we'll continue.
Putting it on us, the Overwatch team, to like support this beast. And it was a great idea that the wrong use case and sort of I'm afraid to say that
I'll say it for you. The greed got to the fucking CEO, the CEO, the CCO, and the CFO. And then any other like person that was above the Overwatch team, the greed got to them, and it hurt because what those people saw is they saw the money, whereas you guys saw the passion. I feel like that's a lot of the times what happens is when you start focusing on your paycheck versus other paychecks, that hurts, and then it hurts the player base because they want fun events. They want to be involved with the game. They want to see this stuff. And when you see kind of these like just like palette swaps, which is basically all the Overwatch League skins were palette swaps, but that's something that the people that were investing, they wanted to see. They wanted to see their team's name, their team colors, all this stuff. And I think when they add more teams to that, that's where I think a lot more pressure went on the Overwatch team with, you know, Paris Eternal, the Charge, the Hunters, any other new teams that kind of came in. So that's new investors that you have to do the same thing with. But you're like, hey, we'll do this. Like, we'll add like the away versions that your players can wear. So then they have to add it to all the other teams because those investors are going to want that. And then, you know, whatever team wins, you have to give like a special skin, that has special visual effects, special voice lines for certain things. That means you have to bring in the voice actors for it. So I feel like it was a great idea, but at the wrong time. Because mind you, Overwatch had only been out, mind you, for 2 years by this time. And since there were already talks about Overwatch 2 happening, like after the year and a half of being launched, like, that's kind of scary to have to think about. And then they're also dealing with having to do bounce patches and new characters and those character skins. And then every time you add a new character, well, those characters have to have the Overwatch League skins. Like, a lot of the team, it seems like they were just running on fumes. And then there's all the stuff that was actually happening that Blizzard had done that affected them. Like, it's just fucking nuts.
not counting, but there was too much focus on let's make lots of money really fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of people got dragged into it. And while Overwatch League was great for Overwatch in terms of the players that it brought in, like then the Overwatch League players, they were awesome. I love them. The Overwatch League staff at Blizzard, some of the nicest, most motivated, creative people. All of these organizations got built, and they were all great, but it was a house of cards waiting to fall.
Well, yeah, especially like let's take for example like you know when you look at some of the skin designs, like in my opinion, I think the best Overwatch League skins were the uh, San Francisco Shock. Like it just looked clean. It was nice, interesting. Like the color palettes that were picked for like certain characters were great, but it didn't look good for a lot of like some of the other teams. Like you could tell the difference, like of basically just a palette swap. And I think when they realized what the colors looked like and how players were responding, they were like, "Hey, no one's buying specifically our skins, so we're not getting that revenue from it. What's going on? This needs to be fixed. Like these things need to be changed. Like this needs to go here. This needs to go here." Which I think also hurts the team because now this team is like, okay, well now we got to change all this. Like once like the financial reality, I think kind of like how he said, kicked in, and you realize that like the designs fit from your perspective, but I don't think they fit from the people who are investing in it. And then you have certain teams like what team was it? The Shanghai Dragons, who were, I think, the first season Overwatch, they were probably like the lowest one on the totem pole, and I think that hurt them a lot as well. And you also saw it with a lot of like the players who like let's look at the Houston Outlaws with Jake O.W., who is known for being a Junkrat player, but at the time of the Overwatch League, he wasn't really he was known for his Junkrat, and that's how he got onto the team. But the meta that Overwatch League brought in, especially like for the people who like analyze the game, both like team captains for other lower esports, they were saw what the meta was, like the whole dive centric stuff, and then the rise of goats and everything. Certain players were like, I signed on to be this role, but in order to play, I have to be this. And you saw that with like the Shock, like they were able to really invest into the goats meta and make it work. And the players were able to work with the meta, but not every team was. So that's what really hurt that. And you gotta remember, a lot of the players that played in the Overwatch League were streamers. So not only do they have this like their own stream to deal with, they also have to do scrims with their teams. They have to do matches where they're in front of a whole bunch of people. So you have to deal with all that. But let's get back to this.
Originally, the business model was going to be that they were going to do in-person events, and there's going to be big ticket sales, and then merch, and all of that. And quickly we learned, like, yeah, we can't do in-game events when you have a London team and a Shanghai team. Like, how does this work? So that fell apart super quickly. The merch was good, but it wasn't going to be making NFL level money, whatever insanity anybody thought that was going to do. So everybody quickly defaulted back to, hey, didn't Overwatch make like $500 million just in the live game last year? What can we sell, and what can you give us? That pressure comes on the team, and then the pressure to ship Overwatch 2, and all care and love that we had for like the live game and the live server. Let's just make events and new heroes and new maps. We're losing all these resources. It got to the point, you know, my exit at Blizzard, I believed in Overwatch 2. I think we could have made a great. I have a lot of hindsight of like how I would have designed that game differently.
Overwatch 2 should have just been a base update. Like, it should have been like a 2.0 version where you included all the new characters, all the new maps. I think 5v5 was a terrible idea. I think they probably should have made roll queue better. Like, it should have placed you, like, if you did all three queues, your combined thing should have been included for all of them. Like, I think if you played like 10 games of a support, then you did 10 games as a tank, and you're like, well, I don't care about DPS, that should have affected your overall like thing. But if you were someone that was like, I'm a support player, I'm playing the support role, or I'm a tank player, I'm playing the tank role, and I'm a DPS player, I'm playing DPS. I think the added incentive of gaining more comp points for the other roles kind of was a very terrible thing. Then Overwatch 2 just going to 5v5. Like, you clearly understand that a majority of these tank players, they need another tank with them. The DPS, they don't need another DPS. Like, I think that's the biggest issue that happens with hero shooters is everyone feels that a DPS is needed. No, like either a really like amazing like one DPS or like two like a little above average DPSs can make the game, especially if they can work well with their teammates. I think too often when people look at DPS, they think, well, DPS means damage per second, so I should be doing crazy damage. Well, why aren't I doing crazy damage? Well, it could be the fact that you're not playing correctly. It could be positioning. And a lot of that also has to deal with like supports. Like sometimes the support won't see you or they don't know you're going to flank because there's not communication. And I feel like support's biggest role is to focus on the people that are in LOS, are actively like helping you, and I feel like support's biggest thing is they focus on the tanks, not so much the DPS. And I think the one thing about Overwatch was like you kind of knew, like especially with Lucio, you knew that the people that were around you, that this is who you're healing, this is who you're speed boosting. So it wasn't so much about LOS, it was about like positioning. Like Lucio was a big position based player, whereas like Mercy and Moira and Ana and Zen really were like focused on like their LOS. Brig was just like, well, if you want healing from me, be near me in a fight. And I think that's why we saw the rise of goats as high as what we did, is because a DPS player could switch on, like a projectile DPS could play Zen, the off support, or main support could switch between the other two, Lucio or Brigitte. You know, your two main tanks, like one was Rhine, one was Diva, and then like your hit scan was your Zarya. So you had that going with it. We'll continue.
What I know now versus what ultimately didn't shift. There's Overwatch 2 is out now, but it's not the Overwatch 2 that we planned it to happen.
Oh, okay. So I think that's what kind of threw my friend Shadow off with Overwatch 2 was I don't think he liked the 5v5 because he already didn't like the fact that like him as a tank player, like he needed to have like a strong like other tank to help him. And I think only having one tank really screwed it up. Like, I get why they kind of wanted to do it, because they didn't want to see, like, the possible rise of, like, you know, oh, there's no DPS players, but, like, I think that's what hurt it, especially when they went to just roll queue. Like, if you were in comp, it was just roll queue. It wasn't like you had, like, regular, and then they eventually came out, and now you're seeing Overwatch 2, which is now just called Overwatch, because I think they're trying to get, like, the old players back. Like, hey, like, this is just Overwatch, but, yeah, this isn't the Overwatch I remember.
When you're referring to Overwatch 2 in this conversation, you're referring to the PvE version.
The PVE version.
Which, by the way, I would have loved. I wanted to mention earlier. Overwatch is really good for PvP, but I would have loved to play the PvE version.
I think everybody would have loved.
So, when you look at, like, Archives, which had Storm Rising, Uprising, and the one on the Rialto map. That was great PvE, but it was only for, like, a set amount of time. Overwatch 2 being, like, this PvE thing, which is what they had shipped versus what it became, wasn't a big thing. I think if they would have just kept Overwatch as, like, the regular, and Overwatch 2 was just PvE, I think you would have made your money. Because the people that wanted to do PvE, oh, they would have bought skins, they would have bought stuff for it. It would have been your perfect, like, PvE story-based stuff. Them just shipping Overwatch 2 as just, it's Overwatch 1, but we're going to make it free, but here's the battle pass. But no loot boxes. Like, I would rather have dealt with the RNG of a loot box over having to spend the same amount of time that I could have gotten a loot box for and gotten 4 things instead of spending the same amount of time and getting 1 thing. Like, the Battle Pass transition, and I blame Fortnite for doing it, and then Call of Duty for really monopolizing on it, is, like, at least with, like, Fortnite, there's multiple ways of getting XP, like, during the match. With a lot of other stuff, you don't really see what you get until after the match. So, like, you'll get a thing where, like, you leveled up. And then you check it and say, oh, I got, like, all this. Like, depending on how you did. In Overwatch, Overwatch 2, it didn't really feel like that. It felt like I only knew how good I actually did until after the match. There was no, like, on-screen notification.
Online that all I cared about was PvE and I didn't care about PvP. All of the Overwatch 2 PvP maps were something that I said to the team over and over. We have a PvP audience. If we get anything right, it has to be the PvP. We would be lucky to welcome these PvE players, but that's not guaranteed. So it was never a PvE only focus.
Just almost expanding it to also.
And what eventually broke me, it used to be like in 2016 and 2017, I felt very in control of the Overwatch team and the direction of the game as a game director, you know, working with Ray Gresco as the production director. It felt like we were running Overwatch. And we were very, very successful at doing a good job. And I think the fans were happy. And then as we transitioned, you know, Overwatch League, the best intention, you know, my parents always say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That was the Overwatch League, and it ended up being an albatross. And then Overwatch 2 was the same thing. And what it boiled down for me, like what sort of ultimately broke me in my Blizzard career was I got called to the CFO's office.
Oh, here it is.
And he sits me down and he says, he gives me a date, which at the time was 2020. And
So wait. So if Overwatch didn't make X amount of dollars, 1,000 people would have been let go, and that would have been on him. Even people that weren't even involved in it. Yeah. Yeah, well, we basically need to find a way to get the investors' money back and everything because we fucked up, but hey, it's all on you. Oh, I'm so happy I became a chef.
Biggest fuck you moment I had in my career. It felt surreal to be in that condition. And as somebody who's worked on a lot of games, made a lot of games, you get these meetings where they're like, Fortnite has 1,400 people working on it. If you just hire 1,400 people and make it free to play, we'll make that money, right? And that was, I had believed I would never work anyplace but Blizzard. I loved it. It was part of who I was. And I felt I was a part of it. And I literally thought I would retire from a place. I never thought the day would come. And that was it. I was like, we're done here. Luckily for Blizzard, that CFO is no longer there.
And Blizzard, one of the greatest companies in the history of Blizzard. They created so many incredible video games. It's so difficult to create so many hits. And they're done not by chasing money. They're done by small, incredible teams. Hodgepodge.
I feel like the same thing that we're seeing from with Jeff talking about all this. It's really like it's like seeing someone from like the Destiny team talk about it, and then like now like seeing as someone who has like stepped over, hasn't given up on the Destiny community, but has stepped away from the Destiny community. Like in terms of content creation and everything, I'm seeing like the issues that like I was just like, oh yeah, they'll fix it, you know. But now I'm like, oh god, what the fuck are they gonna do? Like, my biggest reason for stepping away from Destiny was the fact that the thing that kept me the most involved in it is basically just it sits there like, well, hey, we brought it up to here, but then we kind of just, you know, pulled an old Yeller, and now it's just kind of limping, and we're not doing anything to fix it. But hey, we're fixing all these other things that you don't actually care about. That's not the reason why you became that you became a Destiny creator. Not the reason that that know me for. And I think that's what like hurt. That's what really hurt my push. Was like, I love Gambit, but it doesn't have anything. Like I feel like the most fun that I have that I had on Destiny was just going for my guilding again. But after that, like, there wasn't anything else to do. So then I was like, well, I got story stuff. I got like trials. I got Iron Banner. I can do all these other things. Haha, this is fun. And I was like, I eventually got to the point about last month where after I had my like imposter syndrome stuff come back, I was like, what is even the point of me playing Destiny if I'm not playing Gambit? Because I think if I play Gambit, I'm just not having fun. Because I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm getting weapons that, like, I can't make better. I can't get good rolls for. I'm not getting anything out of it besides just mint when I play on this one map. And playing against some of the same people I play against all the time. Like PvP, like it's always like a different player and everything. Less like I can recognize a name, but like in Gambit, like it's always the same people. Like there's no real mix in it. And then like I thought like with Renegades, I was like, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be like Gambit could come back. Gambit could come back. And then it was just like, oh yeah, we're delaying Shadow and Order and we're renaming it to really give you guys a big focus on everything. I was just like, okay. Well, with that happening, I'm going to take a fucking break because I can't. My holdout was like Shadow and Order could be the thing that brings Gambit back. And now with it being delayed, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I'm going to step away. Like, I read the twit today and I was just like, oh, yeah, the same kind of twit I've seen for the last month and a half. I'll wait until it gets closer to the launch of what was supposed to be Shadow and Order, which should have come out already. But they're like, well, we got too much stuff to fix and everything, so we're gonna just push it back. And if this thing isn't like if what they're giving us in June isn't a free thing, heh, you can stay uninstalled. But let's get back to Jeff Kaplan here.
Taking big risks and falling in love with the thing they do and just chasing it, working extremely hard. And just because you figured out a way how to make a lot of money doesn't mean it's not at the core incredible creative journey. It's incredibly difficult to pull off. And just because you got a bunch of really smart, creative people who have figured out not just the loot. All right, it's the whole experience, the art, everything together, and the season. They create a really wonderful world. So I can see, I can feel how much effort goes into that.
They're crushing it. And I think Diablo 4 in like modern times is one of the best worlds that have built, and they understand Diablo players. Like that community is so hard and so demanding. That team is amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of wishes. It's like it's really. I don't know how often you get that, but it's really the perfect Diablo game. They've really like evolved a lot, grew a lot. So there's this whole mathematical component of just so many numbers everywhere, and it's all balanced really masterfully. And then, of course, you have to come up with new content with the seasons, and they figure out ways to do that in a crazy pace, and still make it super fun.
They're a great live team.
What?
For me personally, like I said, the co-op, the couch co-op experience is really like that aspect of it is really great. It's just all one of the greatest games in recent history. One of the things I wanted to mention, because this is a powerful speech, is so instead of doing some kind of corporate goodbye as you leave Blizzard, you allegedly shared with their team a video of David Bowie giving advice. People should go watch this clip. But if I may read it, Bowie says, "Never play to the gallery. Always remember that the reason that you initially started working was that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest in some way, would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society. I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. The other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in. Go a little bit under the depth. And when you don't feel that you're quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting." Speaking of which, you are just about in a place to do something exciting after leaving Blizzard. You told me that you tried to take some time off. How did that work?
Not so well. My wife, who's wonderful, told me I needed to take at least a year off. And just, I've been going really hard. I got 19 years, barely taking vacation. And I let Blizzard consume me. And, I was crushed by leaving because I loved the place. And I didn't know what to do with myself. I was pulling weeds in the backyard.
Literally, garden.
Yeah, well, she won't let me garden in the garden because that's hers, but I'm allowed to pull the weeds. So I got very good at that. I was very proficient. And then of all things, I cracked out on Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and I unlocked Dark Matter Ultra, which that's like a crazy achievement to do in that game. So I did that, and then I couldn't help it. Like, it's how I'm programmed. It was like, at this point, it's late spring, early summer, and I'm just sitting in the backyard. And I just started writing with Notepad about this game I want to play.
Alright, so that's basically Jeff's reason for leaving and what kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. This is an hour-long video. But yeah, if you guys want to watch this, this is the channel to look at. Right here. If you want to watch the full thing, early stuff, writing career, joining Blizzard, all their different discussions, you can check that out. But I'm going to end it there and relax for the rest of the night. Red Faction, I will see you guys on the Purple Faction side on Sunday, where I will talk more with my friends about this situation for the Coyote Cast, jump into some rivals, and then continue our RE9 Requiem playthrough. We're currently back in Raccoon City, playing as Leon. We're going to roundhouse kick some zombies. I hope to see you guys there. Y'all have a good one. See you later.